This program is suitable for general viewing.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good evening. My name is Faisal Kassim and welcome to Live Real Talk. I mean, this week, if there's something that has been hitting the airwaves, it's Kenya Kwanza at One. Everybody's talking about it. It's exactly 1 year since His Excellency President William Samoei Ruto, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, was sworn into office. Of course, we had a lot of campaign promises for the previous 4 years before he was elected into office. But again, it's 1 year down the line, like literally 365 days since he was sworn into office. So, what have we seen? What have we witnessed? What have we experienced? More so, the youth who were the cornerstone of the Kenya Kwanza's plan as they were being, or rather seeking, being elected into office. The youth were the cornerstone, and of course not mentioning the economy was the main agenda. Better, that is bottom-up economic transformative agenda. That is what they're ready into office with. But 1 year down the line, what have they achieved so far? You, as the person on the ground, have you felt the Kenya Kwanza administration? Have you felt anything different since they were elected into office? And joining me on the set tonight is a group of young men doing great things in their own respective capacities and institution. And we are hosting them tonight just to know and to ask them, because they interact with you every single day. So they represent you on the set tonight. We want to know, have you felt the Kenya Kwanza's administration since they started? And in my immediate left, I have Ismail Abdullahi. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum salam.
Kwa salama ndugu. Baridi iko nyingi sana, tupunguze AC ama?
Baridi
iko sawa. Mashallah. Ismail is a member of the Kenya Bodaboda Ride Owners Association in this country, and of course one of the pioneers of the electric motorbikes in this country. Karibu sana. And of course Silva Kido, the brand. This is a nominee by the Pulse Award media blogger influencer category of 2023. Guys, come on, go on to Instagram, go on to Twitter, check him on Facebook. The links are there. Go on to Pulse and vote for Silva Kido, right? Media and blogger influencer category, correct?
Alhamdulillah, yes.
Vipi bro, mambo? Mzima? The brand, karibu bana. Sante sana, mashallah. Every day you used to interviewing people. Today you're being interviewed, eh? Alhamdulillah. Mashallah, that's amazing. And of course, last but not least, we have Yassah Musa from the Nubian Rights Forum, the people who hold the government in check. I tell them, haki yetu, haki yetu.
Kabisa.
Finally. Now, recently, the government is rolling out a replica, or rather something almost equivalent to the so-called Huduma number.
Yeah, it's good actually you've said a replica, because the government have been playing around.
Of course, according to you guys.
yeah, according to us, but definitely the public sees, and everything that is happening on this new digital platform is more or less the same. The procedure is more or less the same. Last time it was the executive pushing it. This time it's almost the same as the executive pushing it. And the rush, which we really don't know why the rush of this digital platform.
You're already getting into the conversation, Dugu.
Yeah.
It was just an introduction.
My apologies.
It was just an introduction. Remember, you're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, and of course, you can also be part of the conversation. Tell us, have you felt the Kenya Kwanza's administration since they took office and they took over the reins of power? Ismail, the president came out and announced that sasa tunaenda kwa electric bodabodas, and of course you guys started that conversation 1 year even before the president started. And like 6 months ago, you guys hosted the governor of Nairobi, Governor Sakaja, together with the president and some other investors as you are launching the whole project. Maybe tell us, since this administration took power, how has it impacted your industry?
Okay, thank you so much. I really want to start by saying thank you for inviting me here. And as far as Bodaboda is concerned, I'm a Bodaboda leader rider within Nairobi County. I'm the secretary, Nairobi County, Kenya Bodaboda Association and Riders. So when you ask about the impact that this conversation has brought us to, it has really impacted us in the best way ever.
Really?
Yes.
Watu wa bodaboda na mama mboga.
Yes,
Mumeingia kwa serikali.
Serikali from the start ilikuwa ni yetu. Serikali sisi ndo tumetengeneza na kile ambacho kwamba serikali italeta kwa manufaa ya mtu wa chini, sisi tutakuwa ready ku-embrace. Kwa sababu ukiangalia stima, venye tu umesema, tumeanza story ya electric mobility 1 year even before the campaigns. Na ni kitu ambayo kwamba serikali imekuja ku-embrace. Kwa hivyo iliona manufaa yake na ikawa ni avenue nzuri ya kuwaonyesha watu wengine kwamba tunaweza kuwa na kitu kama hicho. Kwa hivyo electric mobility ni something ambayo kwamba hatuwezi debate about. Ni kitu ambayo kwamba itakuja kusaidia mtu wa bodaboda wa chini, kwa sababu saizi mafuta ukipiga hesabu na mtu wa kawaida anaweza tumia around 600 in a day within a radius of like someone in Kibera or CBD hapa. Anaweza tumia 600 to 800, but akitumia electric motorcycle anaweza tumia shilingi 200 kwa siku. Kwa hivyo huyo mtu anaweza kuongeza mapato yake kwa njia ya savings hadi shilingi 400 kwa siku au 600. Nikisema hivyo, mimi ni mtu ambaye kwamba nime experience first hand information encounter. So mimi ndio the first rider to ride in the future. Mimi naweza sema hivyo hapa Kenya. Najua Afrika kuna wengine.
Wewe ndio ulikuwa wa kwanza na electric motorcycle?
Exactly, mimi ndio wa kwanza. In fact, during the campaigns I was also campaigning using the electric motorcycle. And that is Bodaboda. Kama kuna pikipiki ambayo kwamba mtu ameona around Nairobi Kibera ni a green Bodaboda.
Yes.
Hiyo ndio pikipiki ambayo kwamba tuliintroduce mara ya kwanza na ni pikipiki ambayo kwamba ni strong. Ni strong for the benefit of the bodaboda. Imetengenezwa kwa ajili ya mtu wa bodaboda wa hapa Kenya na Afrika mzima.
So for you, you felt your impact imekupiga directly and you see it's very beneficial mambo ya the government in general basically since 1 year. So you feel wako sawa?
I think if I can rate the government, I can rate them 80%. Wale watu ambao kwamba wanatuambia 38%, sijui wanatoa wapi hizi figures zao, kwa sababu serikali, my friend, imeperform. Given the prevailing circumstances, wamechukua uongozi nayo. Hii ni serikali ambayo kwamba imeperform. Na sisi hatuwezi kuja hapa kublackmailiana. Tunaambiana ukweli kwamba serikali imeperform.
You're a truthful man.
Yeah, exactly.
Tuambiane ukweli. Right? Silva Kido, I mean, you are a journalist. I mean, you are one of the, actually not a rising star. You are one of the stars in the digital space, digital media space in this country. You guys feed us information, what's happening, sometimes even before the mainstream media occupy information. We get news from you guys, right? How do you see the performance, in your own opinion, of the Kenya Kwanza administration, particularly in relation to your industry, bro?
Okay, what I'll say first is that congratulations to Kenya Kwanza team. They've tried to deliver what they promised to deliver. As a journalist, what I have to say is that we were not, under Kenya Kwanza government, I felt like bado tumefinywa, because you see, we need to be free and fair. There's freedom for press. So ukiangalia the past wakati during campaigns kulikuwa na hizo conversation that certain media houses wanakuwa biased for a certain team. Vile vile tuliona during maandamano pia kulikuwa na ile journalists wanakuwa attacked during coverage, so vitu kama hiyo. Vile vile pia kulikuwa na conversation ambayo ilikuwa inaendelea, ilikuwa kwamba unapata government news advertising agencies zina limit ama zina avoid to work with certain media houses because maybe walikuwa na support certain
fulani,
yes. So kumekuwa na hizo changamoto, but me on my side is that we still on the track, we still positive. I believe there'll be light at the end of the tunnel.
Out of 100%, how do you rate them? Ismail, I'm up at 80%.
For me, I'll say 75.
75%, that's a very high score. Where are they losing the 25?
In terms of now, because you see, they're not certifying an individual. There are millions of Kenyans who are demanding from the government. of course kumekuwa na previous government, there were things that are happening, they were not happening maybe right. The new government is trying to solve those issues. Kuna hizo pending wages, kuna hizo story na debt tunadaiwa sasa hivi, kama 10 tunadaiwa huko nje. So I believe government should focus more on the mwananchi in terms of now to deliver what is kuna zile basic mwananchi anataka stima. Juzi tumekuwa na blackout na vitu kama hiyo, chakula, high cost of living, security, unemployment bado iko pale pale, cost of living ni MBSI. Hata mgeni akitaka kuja Nairobi kwa wewe unamwambia kuja weekend. Yeah, so there's a lot they have to work out, but for me kitu nimependa sana na being on a digital space, government ime come up na measures. Ukiangalia monetization, now we can be able to monetize TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, na vitu kama hizo. Government ime come through very fast. Unapata saa hii kuna plans, kuna ongoing conversation, digital medias wanaweza patiwa now a space, a budget ya kuweza ku-amplify ama ku-market government campaigns. So I believe we are almost there.
Tunaelekea hapo. Tuko sawa.
Yes.
Yassah, your predecessors in the panel, what wamesema serikali iko above 50, so serikali is okay. We have 80, we have 75%. What about you? Unaonaje?
Mimi sitapeana the percentages because there are so many underlying issues. He's just talked about the issues of monitoring of social media platforms. We have to know, before 2019 or before we went to court, there was no data protection law. There was no data protection act. So this is something that we've been following for the last, when you look at the data protection, for the last 10 years. And this was rushed, and we have Data Protection Act, but now there are things that are supposed to be put into place. For instance, Kenya is using a centralized system, whereby it means all mahindi will be put in one basket. And we all know the challenges we face when you put all the mahindi in one basket. So what we are saying is we have to make sure that the issues of data protection, the way YouTube is being followed, the way Twitter and other handles should be, they should use laws and protection of people, because we don't want to see people being surveilled when we are progressing with the human rights. What I can say about the current government is about the issues of extrajudicial killings has reduced, but we cannot say it has drastically reduced, but it has reduced. But on the other hand, the government said a police has a right of shooting you in a process where they're defending themselves. So to the other extent, you're saying extrajudicial killing is going to be removed completely, but on the other side, you're giving the police more power so that they can misuse it. So to me, there are so many things that the government is really rushing, and what I can say, the president needs to have advisors who are doing good things. For instance, UPI, Universal Personal Identification System, which is almost the same as Huduma number. We were called in February, a group of civil societies in partnership with PS by Talk. There were some key asks that we were supposed to be put into place. One of them was data protection. The second one was public participation. And public participation is something that has to be put into place. And the government, they say they will do it in March. They say they're going to do it in August. They announced they're going to roll out the new digital ID in August 2nd. They've reversed it to September 29th. So we don't understand why the rush is the government looking back into the cyber attacks that we faced. So I can say the government...
There's only one cyber attack, bro.
It's a big issue. It's a big issue because there are so many...
It's one too many.
It's one too many. Imagine that is something that you've already seen. And look at the 5,000 services being put online. So it means if a service or something has broken down, all the 5,000 services are going to be affected. Look at what is happening with Nyayo House. Do we really need the Minister of Security to come to Nyayo House so that processing of passports can be there? We don't really need that, and it looks like sometimes it's PR, and we don't want PR things. So for me, I can say right now it's 50-50. I can't say I'm giving them lower than 50 or higher than 50.
Interesting that you mentioned about extrajudicial killing, because I have Fauzia Ali Hassan who's saying that as a Muslim in Kenya under the administration of Kenya Kwanza led by William Ruto, I am pleased to know that notable absence of extrajudicial killings of our youth and disappearances. This positive trend is indeed encouraging, and we extend our steadfast support to Your Excellency. Guys, shifting gears, because we already 31 minutes past 8 o'clock, and I think it's important to also look at the other side. The Azimio leadership, right? Do you think they have provided the right needed oversight, right, and checks and balances to this government as they should be, right? Let's start with you, Ismail. Azimio, the performance of how would you rate the opposition?
As a matter of fact, I think opposition have provided the best way to check up on the government. And that's why we have such conversation here as we speak. We are speaking about Kenya Kwanza at One. You see, most of the things imekuwa ikifanyika, lakini no one has been checking. But the president himself given the mandate to the opposition to check them while they are working.
So do you think Vlanafanyio checks and balances, is it right? For example,
yeah.
Excuse me. For example, the demonstration, for example, the ongoing war of words that tuna witness on social media and mainstream media every day. Do you think hiyo ni njia sawa?
Okay, kati ya hizo kuna njia sawa, lakini kuna zile ambazo kwamba pia hazitusaidii kama Wakenya, kwa sababu umemention kitu kama demonstrations. Kama demonstration inaweza kuwa kwa njia ambayo kwamba inatimizwa kisheria, ni kitu ambayo kwamba sisi tunaweza support. Kwa hivyo if I can rate opposition out of 100, naweza sema wamecheck the government around 50%. That's okay.
Interesting.
Yes,
Kido.
For me, I'll say is that you see, they have their role to play as opposition. That's why
Yes.
we see mandamanos, we see demonstration, we see press releases, we see them debating the conversation online. So for me, is that they're doing very well because they need to put the government on check all the time. If something's not happening right, they have to speak for us, you know. But a few movements, maybe kuna zile ambao mimi sijapendekeza. You see, there's a time Kenyans were even urging the opposition leader with the president to have a sit down to discuss on the issues. They're feeling like the government is not doing it right.
Yeah.
As well, there are things they were saying in public that something is not good. You know, when you see maybe families being involved, now it's more than politics. So me, what I'll say is that moving forward, there's parliament. If they have an issue, they can be a sit down. They know each other. They have the phone calls, so they can call each other. For me, I can say they've done best. They need to be heard more. So the government need to give them space, enough space, even if they get a chance maybe to have their officers, the president mentioned, well and good. They deserve it.
Opposition.
Yes.
Wow, nice. Very interesting. So out of 100%, how do you rate the opposition?
I'll say 60.
60%.
Yes.
Oh, so Rai's doing a good job, eh?
Yeah, they're doing a good job.
Nice. Yassah?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you guys are, sorry to brand you this year, but again, almost an extension of opposition, the civil society, because you always keep the government in checks. I don't know. Very few times I've seen the civil society coming out and supporting the government.
Let me.
It's always the government. This is the government.
That's a very strong accusation. But let me breathe.
My opinion. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's your opinion.
Right?
But when you look at civil societies, we are there for human rights. We are there to make sure that the rule of law prevails. So we support, or we don't support. We actually want things to be put into place. If it is the government working, because there are projects that we have to do with the government. So if we say we are fighting the government or we are the opposition, then it means that some specific activities we cannot be able to do with them. But what I can say, currently the opposition have played a big role, but there is one underlying issue, the living cost, high standards, and also the opening of the server. So I really hope the agenda and keeping check of the government is in good faith, because right now you've seen there's no mandamano, there is dialogue which is happening. And I hope this dialogue is not only about the Nusumkate, but the dialogue is all about the national issues that is happening. Right now, you've seen VAT is being proposed from 16% to 18%. So things are rising as we speak. We don't know who is opposition. We don't know who is government, because when you look at parliament, most of them are jumping on the other side. So as civil societies, definitely we don't need to jump. We need to make sure that we are holding the government accountable and also holding the opposition accountable to make sure that we are progressing. So currently, apart from the opening of servers, apart from their individual issues that they have, I can say they've really held the government accountable, and we hope this is something that can prevail and continue. And we don't, let me not be misquoted by people.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be His Excellency Raila Odinga pushing for this narrative. It has to be a whole joint proposal and people working together so that the public can really understand what is happening. Because when you look at Mashinani, even the community, they don't understand the work of member of county assembly. They don't understand the work of member of parliament, the ward admins. So there are specific things that we'd want to make sure that we hold the government accountable by working with them, and also trying to make sure that we implement these issues. One last thing is about the issues of demonstrations. We've seen the government using threats and saying demonstrations are not going to take place. But this isn't, it is in the Constitution. And the person who is in charge will know sovereignty power, which is chapter 1 of the Constitution, belongs to the people of Kenya. And if we are told it is our right to picket, as long as there is procedural ways of doing that picketing in order to make sure that the government is held accountable. For me, I'll give them 60%.
Right.
Thank you.
Rawa, the whole Azibi Brigade and the whole opposition, you're doing a very good job. So everybody's performing, nobody's failing. This was a very steady nation. On the 30th of September 2022 is when Dr. William Samoei Ruto alishika Biblia kasarani mbele umati na akaapa kuilinda katiba ya Kenya. Of course, research was done by Tifa Polls, and there are some figures that I want us to talk about, some of these figures and what you think, and what my panelists think about some of these figures, the hits and misses, the promises, what's pending, what has been done, and what we expect to be done the next 4 years of this administration. This and much more. Wacha tulipe bills kwanza ndio tupate pesa kulipa ushuru.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. Verse of the day.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما والذين يبيتون لربهم سجدا وقياما والذين يقولون ربنا اصرف عنا عذاب جهنم إن عذابها كان غراما إنها ساءت مستقرا ومقاما
Quote of the day. Imam Malik bin Anas said, I am but a man. I make mistakes sometimes, and I am correct sometimes. So examine my opinions and accept anything that agrees with the book and sunnah, and leave anything that does not agree with the book and sunnah.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum and thanks so much for keeping Faisal Kassim, and we are talking about the Kenya Kwanza administration at one. I mean, we are all Kenyans, we are all living in this amazing, beautiful country, and we are experiencing or receiving the Kenya Kwanza administration in different ways. Of course, we have our brains, we are grown-ups, and we know or we think we have some ideas on some of the things that we think could be done better. What is that one thing for you, right? And because of time, we cannot look into the figures, particularly the figures that are done by TIFA polls and posted 4 days back. We cannot go back and look at those figures. But in the interest of time, let's look at what are some of those things that you feel the Kenya Kwanza or the government by extension, and of course also the opposition will look at it later. But again, right now, the Kenya Kwanza administration, what are some of the things that you feel they could do better? And of course, Ismail, if there's one thing that you feel the president anaweza kubadilisha in this country, akibadilisha kitu moja ama hizo vitu vile ama vitatu, then itabadilisha how life vile mambo yanasonga, because over and above the high performance that you've given, what has come out is that the cost of living is still going high. People are still complaining about the high tax rates, and Kenyans in a way or another they're still uncomfortable, because honestly speaking, the past 1 year bei ya bidhaa ya vitu vimepanda, right, despite the economic situation. So if there's one thing that you feel rais akifanya itabadilisha the way, the status of the situation, itabadilisha, what would hiyo kitu itakuwa ni gani?
Okay, I think for me, I will talk about, we are youth, all of us here are youth. And something that came up na ikatufinya sana kama vijana ni unemployment rate. Sisi kama vijana ambao kwamba tuko kwenye mitaa kama Kibra, tunaumia kwa sababu wengi wetu hawana ile mapato ya kila siku. Na kuna mfumo ambao kwamba ilikuwa inatumika mwanzo, ambayo kwamba pengine vijana walikuwa wanapata kazi ile inaitwa kazi kwa vijana. I think kama tungerudishiwa hiyo, najua imerudishwa kwa njia tofauti kwa ile mambo ya housing na vitu vingine, lakini sio watu wote ambao kwamba wako na uwezo ama wako na hiyo skills ya kuenda kwa mjengo. Kwa hivyo sisi kama vijana tunaomba sana turudishiwe ile mfumo wetu ya kazi kwa vijana, kazi mtaani. So that at least tunaweza kuketa for, wengi wetu tuko na familia na wengi walikuwa wanategemea kazi kama hizo. Kwa hivyo hiyo ni shughuli ambayo kwamba serikali inafaa kuangalia kwa kina. Tuache siasa nyingi kwa hiyo, na vijana waletewe kazi. Hiyo kazi ilikuwa inatafuta mtu mpaka mtaani. Kwa hivyo hata the most laziest youth atafanya hiyo kazi. Kwa hivyo ni kitu ambayo kwamba tunafaa kuzingatia kama serikali. Another thing ni about taxation. I think the rate ambayo kwamba taxation imekuwa ikifanyika kwa watu wa kawaida, nadhani ni kitu ambayo kwamba imeenda na speed sana. Lakini sasa tuangalie, tujirudishe nyuma, kwa sababu watu wengi wana complain pia, wanataka government perform in the most unexpected timeline, kama 1 year inataka government perform. So what do you expect? Kwa hivyo hii ni bado conversation ambayo kwamba tunafaa kuendelea nayo. Lakini kama kuna mbinu ambayo kwamba inaweza kupunguza ile taxation, so that pia itamotivate watu wengi kutafuta shughuli na wasione kama wanaumizwa sana. Kwa hivyo ni hayo tu, I think.
Okay, so shukran. Kido, you're in the information space, particularly the digital media, and of course you've seen how the globe has been affected. Of course, the geopolitics, talk of the rise of BRICS at the moment, and recently the G20 summit, of course, to counter what happened at BRICS in South Africa. And the world, there's some level of stability, right? The de-dollarization campaign that has also contributed to that, the Russia-Ukraine war that is still ongoing. So the president is expected to perform against this backdrop, right? Of course, when they were campaigning, things were not this bad. Right? But again, after kuingia kwa ofisi, yes, kulikuwa na hizo campaigns, and akakuja kupatana na reality kwa ground. But still the same, from where you are, with all this information, if there are things that you feel the president could change to make the country better, what would be some of those things?
Okay, one I'll say is that His Excellency to focus more on the creative economy, because Kenyans are very creative, they're very innovative. So the government to construct hubs, enough ideas center for Kenyans to start their own innovation. Government to open, to waive maybe license permits for maybe foreign companies to come. For example, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, they're willing to come and open maybe a center, a headquarters in Kenya. Can government waive all those license requirements? Can government now empower our creative economy? Can government fund enough, call the content creators, present the ideas, they buy the idea, government invest in the idea, give them opportunities. You know, we just need to invent on our own.
You guys are catered for under the Ministry of Sports under Bob Namomba, right?
Yes.
And this aspect of Talanta Hela, even he appointed a board that was later on crushed about that. But again, I mean, it's something that I feel it's already being done, Ama?
No, not that much, because even Talanta Hela is there, yes, but is it, of course the process is there. Creatives are willing, they're open, they're positive, one day maybe their life will change. But the reality is that it will take time. Forget. So if I kill your idea, if you're a creative person, you have an idea, come on board, present your idea, we fund the idea, we'll sell the project. If it's phone you want to invent, if it's whatever you want to invent, try, let's build our own, you see. For example, I'll give you an example. They came with, look at our neighbors, Rwanda. They came with Visit Rwanda. They've invested in big clubs.
Yeah.
It's bringing revenue to the country. Us, what are we doing? We can have our own brand ambassadors of our own. We can see how we can now sell brand Kenya with the creative they have in this country to market brand Kenya. So there's a lot. For me, I'll request His Excellency, the Kenya government, to give priority to the creative economy. Yes.
You feel it can transform the whole nation?
A lot.
KOT, KX, the first body. Nice. Yassah, I mean, a lot has happened over the years, right? When you talk about particularly what your organization have been advocating for in terms of matters, citizenship and equal rights and identification. Of course, the government has done a lot since they were elected into office. For example, the Nubian community that they have been fighting for the first time, there is a task force to look into the matters 288, the land that His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta gave them. And there's ease, so to speak, in terms of getting identification, in terms of getting passports, and Professor Kithure Kindiki is hands-on on that job. But, I mean, from where you're sitting, if there are things that you feel the president could do better to change, or rather to make the situation of the Kenyans better, what are some of those things?
A lot has been said, including I liked the idea of reducing the taxes for investors, because when you see so many investors are not able to come into our country because there is too much tax. And this one builds in a lot of unemployment. And going back to my first brother, he talked about the Kazi Mtaani. It's a very good initiative, but this puts the youths to be, we are being looked as people who can only do kazi ya mtaro, kazi ya kupanguza barabara. But what I can urge the Kenyan government is to make sure that there is extensive, proper limitations and progresses on how youths can be given job opportunities. Because if you only dwell on kazi mtaani, we have lawyers, we have advocates, we have pilots. All these people, they need jobs. So you don't expect, definitely due to lack of job opportunities, someone can be a makanga, someone can wash, can be on a car wash. But let this be open as much as possible. Let it be something which is something that will help in the near future, not just something for doing politics. For instance, the Kazi Mtaani. But when we go back to my organization and what we do, there are promises that the current government did, that is recognizing all the stateless communities in Kenya, which has not yet been realized, but we thank him at least for recognizing the Pemba community. The Nubian community, this is something that we've fought for it for the last 20 years, and we don't really understand why other communities are coming. They started late, they're being recognized, but the Nubian community are still remaining there. For instance, Nubians are found in Nairobi, and vetting is done to communities who are found at the borders. So if a Nubian is found in Nairobi, what are the limitations, or what are the things that makes them to be vetted? So phasing away of the vetting, because there is a committee which is not constituted, it is just there to frustrate community members. I'd be happy for the Kenyan government to recognize communities, to recognize the stateless communities, and to pause on the progressing of the new digital platform, because we need to have an extensive public participation. We need to have data protection impact assessment. And this is not us, this is the courts that said we need to make sure that all these procedurals are put into place. We have 16.9, which says moving all legal identity to everybody, including children. So if this is the thing that we are going, and we're going to digitalization, let's make sure someone who is mashinani can be able to access these 5,000 services. Someone who is in Kibera can be able to access these services. Someone who doesn't use digital platforms like smartphones, they can be able to use their what do we call this? Katululu to be able to access these services. So far, let me not complain too much, because it's only 80% of 20% of
that was in a way helpful, exactly, because you're talking about, I realize you're too mouthful when you're talking about the government and what the government can do. But again, at the end of the day, we are also citizens. And if you look at the government, the whole government, the cabinet itself is made up of what, less than 50 people. Ikienda sana, let's say 70 people. Ikienda sana.
Yeah.
Right? And these people are supposed to be serving 56 million. Right? Yeah. So we as Kenyans, if we point back to ourselves, if we point back at ourselves, what do you think we can do to try and help the government to deliver its dreams and its mandate? Let's just start with you briefly as you're wrapping up the show.
First of all, I'm not mouthy, but it's just
no. Sorry, I just said all of us. We're mouthful. Eh? We have a lot of words. That's what I meant. We have a lot of words for as far as what we feel or what we think the government can do.
Yeah, thank you so much, Faisal. What I think we can do is to support the current government.
So how do you support the current government?
By understanding the cost of living is not only affecting Kenya, it is affecting the whole world. And let's relate on the economical times that we are facing, not only in Kenya, but let's see how East African communities are doing. Let's do research and then be able to work with the government. And the government should also be open with us to be able to share more of ideas that we can be able to work with them. And then corruption comes both sides. The public should also make sure that corruption is phased out as the government, because the president has been talking about this. But when you look at the agent of immigration a few days ago on Twitter, he was found doing some stuff. So let's make sure we hold one another accountable and stop just blaming and blaming and blaming the government, but also appreciating the things that they're doing. So that is the thing that I can say.
Interesting. Thanks so much. Silva.
Okay, what I'll say is that let's learn to appreciate our own, because the government is new 1 year now. So if we be positive, we'll see more coming from the government. Second thing is that let not be involved in cheap politics. Let not be buy a boat to divide our unity. Let's stay together as friends, as community. And then lastly is that let's work hard. This is our own. We build our own Kenya, our own country, and we deserve more. Of course, government will deliver more.
Wow, nice, interesting. Ismail.
Yes, I think first of all, everybody in this country needs to know everyone's have a responsibility. The government has its own responsibility. We, the citizens, have our own responsibility. Our only responsibility is to allow the government to do the kind of mandate that we elect them to do. Kwa hivyo I think kama Wakenya tunafaa kuacha siasa nyingi. I think nilishtuka sana kuona baadhi ya wanahabari wako na leading questions kwa watu ambao kwamba wanataka tu kujua serikali imeanguka ama bado. Kwa hivyo I think tunafaa kuacha mienendo kama hiyo. Najua pia ni kazi ya media, wanafanya kazi yao, lakini some questions we need to refrain from. Mupunguze kwa sababu mnataka tu mtu aseme mabaya ya serikali, hamtaki mtu aseme mazuri ya serikali. Kwa hivyo sisi kama Wakenya, media na all of us tuko na responsibility. Responsibility yetu ni ku accept siasa ziliisha, campaign ziliisha, saizi ni serikali kufanya kazi. I think this government will surprise so many people at the end of the 5 years term.
Where?
Maybe just correct kidogo. Media, we are very independent. So we have to balance. There's always a story two side.
Yeah.
So nikienda Kisumu niulize mtu anahisi vipi kuhusu serikali, niko na haki ya kwenda Murang'a, ya kwenda Eldoret, tunakwenda mali yote.
Exactly. Lakini nilikuwa naona
Media
naona jana hata kuna panel discussion kama hii. Na ilikuwa ina involve a senior official of the government. Kwa hivyo ule mtu sitataja jina, lakini media yenyewe inaweka vitu upside down. Unaona? Kama bidhaa ya baadhi ya vitu kwa supermarket. Na walipoenda live kwa correspondent wao kwa ground, vitu zilikuwa tofauti. Kwa sababu unapata mafuta peke yake ilikuwa imeshuka na zaidi ya shilingi 200.
Ilikuwa imeshuka?
Yeah, na the same thing an alternate figures. Bei ya mafuta anaweka kwa bei ya sijui mandazi ama nini. Ya vitu zingine kama unga na vitu. Kwa hivyo ni kutu provoke sisi kama wananchi. Nafikiri hiyo ndo.
That's your message.
Yeah, that's
media to report as factual as is.
Report vitu venye iko kwa ground.
That's what we do, I think. Yeah. Lakini anyway, I mean, nasema kwa kila gunia la viazi huwezi pata ile imeoza, sio?
Yeah.
Huwezi kosa ile imeoza. Pole bana Kiswahili. Huwezi kosa ile imeoza, sio? Ama hata chungwa, right? But anyway, guys, wallahi, thank you so much. Really appreciate. And if there's one thing that I picked is what we can do for our country. And that's what His Excellency, the late president of this country, he was the third president, Mwai Emilio Kibaki, alikuwa anasema, do not ask what this country has done for you. You can ask yourself, what have you done for your country, right? As a Muslim, I'm borrowing from the lesson of a beloved religion that teaches us that nothing, absolutely nothing, will happen to us other than that which Allah has decreed for us. And Allah will never decree anything harmful to us. So if you are in this administration, then this is the administration that Allah decreed we're going to have. If you're in this kind of life, then either from our own hands, or it is from Allah, as a test or a punishment, then it is from Allah. We don't know that. That is ilmu ghaib, that is something that is unseen, we cannot tell. But what we know is that this is administration in power. And what is the other option? Sawa, tuseme bas, maisha ni mbaya kabisa bas. Okay, sawa. Utadu? Utadu? Right? So guys, I mean, let's hold hands. Let's do what we have to do and let us build our country. We are not in this country by chance. We are not in this country by accident. We are in this country by design. and that is ultimately the work of Allah. So let's do what we have to do. My name is Faisal Kassim, and this has been the live real talk looking at Kenya Kwanza's administration at exactly 1 year. See you next week, same place, same time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Horizon